All right, welcome to Bayou Time on the desk now. We've been out in the field quite a bit, and joining us now, the very popular sheriff of Lafourche Parish, Sheriff Craig Weber. He's been there many years. And Sheriff, good to see you. How are you doing, sir?
Martin, it's a Monday, and Mondays are always challenging, but we're doing fine. We're working through the hurricane recovery and still dealing with COVID-19 restrictions and trying to get all of our buildings and operations back in order.
You know, and I was thinking this morning when we're in our meeting and we're talking about the fact that you're dealing with, threats from, and I'm going to let you explain in a second, but not only were you dealing with COVID, not only you're dealing with Ida, but then you got to use a lot of resources to really get to the bottom of things that really are nonsensical, but they're very serious. So I'm going to give you the floor, and we're talking about uh, threats of violence at two Lafourche Parish schools. I'm going to let you bring us up to speed, Sheriff.
Yeah, Martin, your point is well made. I mean, we live in a very dynamic world, and we can set our schedules and plan on addressing certain problems, but one miss one email or one text message can cause you to have to redeploy half of your workforce. So really on Saturday night, we received our first notification of a screenshot of a Snapchat conversation. And Snapchat is a social media forum where the information disappears quickly and is very difficult to trace between two people. So someone had taken a screenshot of a generic message threatening violence at a central high school. The very first copy we got was generic. That was followed up by a second copy. And what happens is when they take pictures of screenshots, they can then insert text and modify the message. And that's really what has occurred, not only here in Lafourche, but in other places throughout the state and country. And really, this morning we discovered as far as Canada as well. So the next screenshot we got of the Snapchat message was more specific to Central Lafourche, but Lafourche was misspelled. And then there was a second or third message implicating Thibodeau High. We had detectives and officers working from Saturday night, and they're continuing to work through today. The first thing we had to do is determine the credibility of this information before it got onto social media and created unnecessary hysteria. We contacted the St. Joseph Police Department in Missouri. They had an article online where that message had been sent by three students, and those students had been apprehended. We can't say with absolute certainty that that message is the source of all the other messages, but we can say that the messages that are being received and transmitted across the country and across the state are all similar in style and nature and content. Nevertheless, there's nothing more serious, or I can't think of anything more serious than a threat to a school and to school children. So we don't spare any expense. We brought on our detectives. We reached out to the Louisiana Fusion Center. We had them vetted out. Clearly, the names that were included were fictitious names. They were not the names of any former or current students, and you would expect something of this nature to be fictitious. We soon discovered that this similar situation or hoax, whatever you want to call it, really it's almost a pandemonium of creating fear among people unnecessarily, was going on a much broader scale. Nevertheless, we worked with the FBI. We notified them. We worked with local law enforcement, the State Fusion Center, the school district, and we put together two things. One, a plan to have additional people at the school sites, working with Thibodeau Police and the other agencies as well, to reassure the teachers, the students, and the parents that we were aware and we wanted to have a presence to reassure them. We also knew that getting information out to the public was essential. As I said, sometimes if these things get ahead on social media, they can create an incredible unnecessary hysteria. And that's why on yesterday afternoon, my staff and I talked Saturday, we talked Sunday morning, we had a conference call, we followed up on other additional information. By this time, we had realized that it continued to expand on a broader scale. And then on Sunday afternoon, our final meeting, we put together a press release in conjunction with the school district to let people know that we were fully aware, that we were on top of this. We had completely vetted it out, that the threat was not credible. But the decision to send your child to school or not send your child to school is certainly a personal decision for each parent and for each household. So we're not going to second guess whether people sent their children to school or didn't send them. We were very confident and are still very confident that this was not a legitimate threat, that it was not a credible threat. And it's just another example, I guess, of utilizing social media and the ability to share information in a very negative way. I mean, if you think about the effect of the pandemic in shutting down commerce and shutting people's jobs and social distancing, you could literally shut down the entire education system of the country by creating these type of threats. And unfortunately, they're so easy to get out and they're so hard to control once they're out. We also are looking to see if the federal authorities are going to assign anyone specifically now that this thing has spread across the country and crossed jurisdictional boundaries.
I guess I come to you for a little expertise now, Sheriff, that now that we've been through Ida and you've had a chance to deploy your men and women and you're out there doing a great job and trying to get things back on track. Give me your assessment at this point, because you've been through a few major storms. How does this stack up again?
Well, this is hands down, I think, the most cataclysmic storm that we have experienced, certainly in my lifetime and perhaps before that as well. I mean, being ground zero for what many argue is a Category 5 storm that was traveling so slow and spent hours and hours just pounding away is just unprecedented. And you can see by the damage and the damage debris and the recovery process, the amount of time that it's taking. And Lafourche is typically divided into north, central, and south. And given those general divisions, North Lafourche, for all intents and purposes, with the exception of blue roofs and some debris, is pretty much well on track. Central Lafourche is picking up a lot of speed, but South Lafourche and Grand Island, Fouchon just have such a long way to go. And we've had great response, but we've also had a lot of gaps in that response. Housing is such a big deal. My staff and I talk about it frequently, and about 3 weeks ago, we started to see an uptick in calls for service that probably are connected to a combination of the frustration, the anxiety related to Hurricane Ida, just on the top of everything that the pandemic has brought by. We're seeing more cases of accidental overdoses. I think in one case, we revived the same individual twice in 1 week with Narcan. We don't always get lucky enough to save people's lives. Some people we don't. We're starting to see where not having a place to stay is creating friction among family members. You know, you take your family member in for what you think might be 2 weeks, and here it is 2 months later, and you got 8 people living in a 2 or 3 bedroom house. They got pets and they don't have pets and sort of thing. So we're seeing where there's starting to be some conflict there as well. We're dealing with more mental health issues. Actually, when I conclude this Zoom meeting, the parish president, the district attorney, and myself are having a follow-up meeting to try to combine resources and be available to address or attempt to address more mental health crises. We're seeing a little bit greater numbers in domestic violence. I would say at least 1 or 2 calls per day are domestic violence related. So the impact is incremental. I guess to sum it up, for most people, every day is a little bit better. But still, there are many people that every day things get a little bit worse. They're trying to navigate the process of getting assistance, getting housing, employment, and other benefits can be very complicated, and you just can't put your life on hold indefinitely.
Let me ask you, Sheriff, got about 3 minutes left. I want to make sure I get it in. We came on the air shortly after these hurricanes, and once we found out that sometimes things move slow, we made the comment that you're going to see attempted suicides go up. And I think y'all have done a good job of assessing that out in the field and not neglecting it, because I think we all know we've been around for a long time. When people get in despair, they do things out of the ordinary. but y'all been able to intercept a lot of that. How does the experience come in? And you've been around for a long time, so you know it's going to happen, but you were aware of this, weren't you?
We're very proactive, and of course, experience is always the best teacher. So, having lived through so many storms now, the majority of them have been anywhere from a 2-day to 5-day event, with the exception of Katrina, of course, and maybe one or two others. But this one is just going way beyond that. So we've anticipated some of these issues, and our officers are actually trained in critical incident stress debriefing, and they do well because they're dealing with people who are having challenges mentally as well as people with addictions. But by being proactive, anticipating it, and having the right resources, not only internally, you have to partner with external resources as well. So we're never going to be 100% effective, but if we can identify people, get them referred, work with families, work with the coroner's office, work with the mental health providers, I think we can make a lot of progress and improve people's lives.
Yeah, final thought, Sheriff, with about a minute left. What number could they call? Because, a lot of people look at you and they say, Sheriff Weber's been around quite a long time and they trust you. But a lot of people, when they go to pick up that phone, they want to talk to somebody they trust. So how could they reach you or some of your professionals if they want to talk?
Please call and ask for the Police Social Services Division. You can call any number and you'll get directed. Of course, we have numbers throughout the parish. You can even call 911 if you're in a crisis. But when you get to the sheriff's office, say, I'd like to speak to someone in Police Social Services. Those officers, the focus of what they do is the social service aspect of providing needs, or at least solutions to people's needs, or trying to assist them. And someone with that office will take the call and get back in touch and try to connect you to where you need to be connected.
All right, Sheriff, we appreciate you joining us, and go ahead. We know you have a meeting with the parish president and the DA. Go ahead.
Just real quickly, when you and I were in school, pulling a fire alarm was about the biggest threat to getting out of class. But these type of hoaxes and these threats are catastrophic. If you think of children that missed a year of school for COVID, they've missed several months of school for Ida, and now they're disrupting this classroom. It is a crime. And sharing this information, depending on who shares it and how they share it, can also lead to criminal misconduct as well. So don't just think because you sent an image out, you didn't do anything wrong. We're going to track it down from every perspective that we can.
All right, Sheriff Craig Webre, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Now we'll let you get to your meeting, and we'll be in touch with you soon, sir.
Sure thing. Thank you, Martin.
All right, we'll be right back on Bayou Town.